Welcome everyone. We're so happy that you're here for our very first talk with one of the artists featured in our exhibition, Człowiek. I'm gonna give it the screen time to Paulius so he can tell you about his work in the context of Anthropocene, what inspires him, and a little bit about the film that he sent to our open call and is in the exhibition. So take it away.
Okay, so hello all, nice to meet you. And maybe it's good to give like some kind of a background about myself. So my parents and my grandfather are geologists, so that's why I have this deep connection with nature and earth. They're all scientists, so they have more of this research approach. So I always felt that they have like a very strong link with everything that's surrounding them, the nature, and but they don't have this vocabulary and this way to express things that they experience so much. So that was what was always driving me to find new ways to speak about what I'm feeling around me in my village in Lithuania and in the city. Yeah, so what's so inspiring about Anthropocene for me is that you could speak about these material things such as pollution, climate change, and this land shift of landscape. But for me, what's the most interesting is this the way how we perceive the nature now, how by looking at the landscape, at the nature, we see it not only as a material resource, but also like a resource for everything, for leisure, for art, for creating images that lead to other things. And just while looking at a beautiful landscape, well, what I experience is I remember like things from the past. I remember things that I read today, films that I saw, music, and everything blends into one body when experiencing the landscape. So it becomes very like a ball of entangled ball of so many things. And so when I film things, all of these links, they come back to me, and this complexity somehow unfolds in the way how I build up the images. And in the film that I sent you, Year of the Sun, so there I was working with another artist, Elia Klassen, who is a Belgian artist. And we started the project when Corona began. We were living together in a small town called Huldenberg near Brussels. And as this big restrictions and like this big lockdown came into place, everything became uncertain. So people started being afraid of things. And what I did is I went to the forest and I spent most of my days there, just like watching the trees and trying to build some kind of safe environment where I could create again. So I started building stickmen that I placed in a field, and these stickmen became like a new family for me, because like I came to that field every day, like far away from home, and I just watched the sun, listened to music, built some stickmen, and then I started filming them in morning, in the day, in the night. And this new approach of building and staging things was some kind of a shift of how I was making things, how I was my artistic approach. Because before I was usually just finding situations which somehow had this deep connection with me, and finding sounds, images that were already there, and then I would just collect them and figure out the links between them. But because I couldn't go around and travel so much as before, I was somehow pushed into that direction by the world to develop a new approach. And so me and Elia, we started building these. It all began from a fly. One day she brought a fly to me, and I said, let's lick it. And I took the camera and we started licking the fly, and it took us like 2 or 3 hours. We were licking that fly, and at the moment it seemed really crazy because it was just the beginning of Corona, and a fly really seemed the dirtiest thing possible. And it seemed really a nonsense, but I really felt that there's something in that fly and something in that situation that's happening, like you're really creating a powerful image that became a start for the rest of the work. And also that fly was a particular one because it was a bit yellowish. And so some people see a bee there, like that we're looking at a bee, and then they see danger in that bee. And actually that in the end, what I saw in that fly, it's like a connection between two individuals and these complex psychological processes between two individuals, because normally you wouldn't lick a fly if there's some random person. And so yeah, and thinking about that fly, we started generating ideas how to continue. And so we went to a forest, and we put 2 screens on trees. That is the image in the very end of the film. And yeah, those 2 screens somehow also felt very right, because they were in the context of a forest. And so we introduced this technology and this exhibition view in a natural system. But actually, it's also not so natural here in Belgium, because all the forests are, well, most of the forests are human grown, like humans decide how to plant them, where to plant the trees, and how they should grow, what should be cut, what should be left there, what should become a nature reserve. And so it's also in a way manipulated. So those 2 screens, we place them on the trees, and then Elia started like somehow touching them, and like really trying to feel the natural environment around her, and feel this empty space which can be filled by so many things. And yeah, then slowly we started building more and more situations, such as screens in the earth, which we covered by soil, and we were thinking about this symbiosis, how the digital and the natural worlds could come together, and how they do come together in many ways, but in other ways they are still so much separate, and how this digital world seems so distant and so untouchable and so distant from the body, like bodily experiences, but in a way it's so to manipulate it, to be able to control it, like very gentle touch is necessary to control the screen, for example. And yeah, playing with these screens. We were just we didn't know where we were going, and we were slowly building it up for. And the initial idea was to build it up for an exhibition in Wuhan, because there was like we had this invitation from a Chinese curator, but as situation there is so unclear, so I really have no news if it happened or didn't happen in the end. It just disappeared. But this whole idea to come back to the like, well, nobody knows if it's everything really started there or didn't start there, but just thinking about this thing like really was the force that was like really motivating and driving us to really continue the work. And then it was a very new experience for me, this work too, because I never had a like this close collaboration with another artist before. So it was like we had many discussions and thinking together how what image should follow the other, and thinking about the links and the contexts that they started generating. And so it was like a really big challenge. And our composer, Suzanne Peters, she also was like really struggling to keep up with us because every day we're changing things. So it was a hard job to manage it. And yeah, so we really built many images, and in the end, like we had this big selection to somehow not make it too sci-fi, not too much B-rated movies, but more go into this painterly direction. Because I'm originally a painter, but the last few years I really dedicated all my time and energy making film. And so like my last projects, they're like really even more going into this relationship between nature, culture, and this anthropocene in new ways. For example, now I'm finishing a video where I combine a factory in Lithuania. This factory is called Lifosa, and it generates it makes fertilizers for earth, and it generates subproduct, which is phosphogypsum. It's like and then it creates these big white hills in Lithuania, which seem like white mountains, and they're called the Lithuanian Alps. So not so long ago, I was flying there the drone and filming that these huge white hills seen from above, surrounded by blackness, and then I combined them with a small with views from a small city nearby my village. And that's the images of that city in the night, also from the perspective of drone aerial shots. And so this man-made snow, this whiteness which never melts, also even in the summer, and this real snow which fell in the city, they come together in the night in the video that I made. Yeah, and I wrote down some other things. So yeah, so for me, it's really interesting how we, like as humans, we project so many things on nature, like these things we want to see, we want to experience, that like it's all about wanting. And then many times if you're angry, you see anger in the nature. If you're peaceful, you see peace. If you're you're sad, you find sadness. So it's like really not mirroring, but like it's really wide, and you like just this by colonizing the nature in such a way, by projecting your vision, like we somehow um, generate new viewpoints, but also like this bigger vision we lose. Yeah, I don't know, maybe you have questions or something.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but I can also unmute you if you like. Yeah. Let's see if we have any. But that's all really interesting. I love the story how you came up with the concept for the film, which is by playing with stick figures in the forest. That's really amazing, and such an unexpected turn too. Okay, we have one question. I can read it out loud.
Olivia.
So you had to build and stage the environments. What was the most challenging aspect? The planning or the actual filming?
Well, mostly it was maybe planning, and planning in the sense to come to an agreement, because like me and Elia, we had very different visions how things should go. And you know, in the end, it was not even planning, it was mostly like, I think the most successful shots were the shots where we had, where our intuition would go in the same direction, and we would like find a connection which went beyond words, and to create images which really could not be described very precisely, which really were more than planned, which were more than staged. That would become like paintings on their own, like moving paintings. And then, of course, like there were a few images like where that we really had to refilm many times, such as the fly which is drawing a line, and yeah, that was a big challenge to do. So that I think maybe that I would include in the difficulty of filming, because yeah, I was catching flies for half of a day trying to find the right fly. And you know,
Amazing. We have another question. Love hearing about your work. Thank you for sharing. What's your next project?
well, I mean, I'm still finishing up with this project where the white hills produced by the factory, and the real snow in the night in a small city, from like an aerial views, they come together. And then a friend of mine, he speaks with this voice, because I love his voice very much. He speaks in a voice that just makes peace with the world. It seems that for many years he has been fighting the things that are around him, like fighting because maybe he would want things differently, to change stuff. And in the end, like, he just accepts things, and this acceptance in the voice, this melancholy, this not sadness, but this yeah, I even don't know the word. So it's really it becomes more than a voiceover. It becomes like an atmosphere, a mood. So I'm working on that project very much, and then I'm finishing another one. Like so, and that one's quite interesting to speak about. Maybe so. My grandfather, he's 89, and he's like quite old, and slowly he's losing his vision, and and one night I was coming back from Vilnius, the capital, to a village, to my village, and I was driving with him back home, and he was very, very excited. He was very happy to be able to see again. He was seeing the bright lights of the cars coming in front. He was seeing the speedometer. He was seeing the road signs. He was like really, really excited. Yeah, because it was like 10 years ago. And so remembering that experience in the summer, now a few weeks ago, I called him, and we spoke about that. And in the video that I'm making, I'm flying there are these images of a drone flying above a city in the fog, and this city is looks like Gotham, like really, really very cinematic, very powerful images, and I'll maybe show you a few of them. And you see these I'm gonna find a screenshot. You see these images in the fog, which is and we slowly go through them. Maybe can you enable me to share the screen?
You should be able to.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Yes. So I don't know about the quality because it's like streaming, and I turned off the sound now and then I can turn it on again. So yeah, seeing this city from above slowly flying in the fog, and watching the cityscape. My grandfather speaks about how before he was really admiring my paintings. He was seeing the landscapes that I was painting, and these landscapes were always in fog. And before he would see this fog in the paintings, and now this fog from the paintings came inside his eyes. And it's as if he's seeing the world through my paintings now. So yeah, I can play a bit of sound also. Yeah. Can you hear it or not? Yeah. Yes. So yeah, it's like a 6-minute video, and like now I'm trying to figure out how to not destroy the images by placing some kind of translation to translate a few of the sentences that he's saying, not everything, because it's like really about loss, like loss of information, loss of sight, loss of time, loss of experiences, and yeah, as you heard, he's speaking in this very beautiful voice, which becomes an echo that flies above the buildings and the city in this empty space. And then he reminds some kind of a speaker from the past, and yeah, he because he was a scientist, he speaks in this manner of stating things. He doesn't speak about very in a subjective way. He tries to keep an approach of a scientist, and he tries to state facts, like the visibility of road was very good, something like this. And now your grandmother is watching me, and I know if she's shaking her finger, I am not speaking in correct Lithuanian language. So yeah, I really love to keep a little bit also of humor and very much life inside this timeless space, which seems it can be any time, but also you see these little details. Maybe, I don't know if you saw it, like in one of the houses, there was a Christmas tree shining in the window. So it's also very much about time. Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I love like all the detail work that all the little details that you put in. It's like even the echoing of your grandfather's voice is like it's kind of like creating like a sonic fog. So that's also really amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Do we have any more questions from the audience, maybe?
Well, when he's speaking, some of his words, they also get lost because of the echo, and they become blurry, and people, I mean, if even when you know Lithuanian, you don't understand everything that he's saying. And uh, so, and this vision of a drone is like somehow also flying from these and seeing everything in a very perspective from above, like this statistical perspective, because he's stating things as they are, not trying really to speak as less as possible about his feelings, but more about the facts. So it's like in a way um, uh, the view of the world, how a drone shows it to the audience, like just giving a very wide angle uh, statistical image is how my grandfather also tries to describe what is happening to him and how he's seeing things and experiencing them.
It's super interesting because it's like all the emotional layer is on your side, like by contrasting the two, the voice and the visuals. That's super interesting. I can't wait to see the finished product when you finish with it.
Thank you. I mean, if you want, I can also show you the other work, like
yes, please.
The work, the factory. I mean, they're both almost finished, but not entirely. And I don't know if the quality will be perfect because of streaming, but yeah, let's see. Like, tell me if it works, the sound.
Works.
When I was a child, I used to love
It's
winter.
5 minutes.
The frozen landscape. The snow and the smell. There were these fantastic days where snow covered the landscape. And when the sun was shining and the trees were frosted, it was like everything in nature is that sound that your boots make when you walk in snow. Once I was sledding down the hill and I couldn't stop the sled in time. And ran right into a bush. And the bush, it sort of hit my eye, so I had to go to the emergency room. Winter is much different. And it doesn't seem to snow as much as it used to.
Yes. Yes. So as you see, like it's not clear where everything is happening. Is it a game, a dream, a painting? It's like this camera is hovering in this, in the night, in the darkness, and only the light allows you to see a little bit of what is hiding in the darkness. And so these different types of snow come there, and memories from the past of my friend. And before, like, I tried to write a text for him that he would read out loud, and because he really wanted that, but that did not work. Like he tried to read and it was really just staged and empty, dead. And so in the end, I asked him to just speak what he feels, what he remembers, what he wants to speak. And he spent like 5 hours trying to read the text, and then 10 minutes just speaking freely on his own what he wants to say, because he was really afraid to do that, because he's not an artist. He works in the office. He is not even used to somehow using his voice in any other way than just like doing like job and like just communicating. And I always felt that he had this, his voice is like a painting, and it has so many abilities to make you feel things. And yeah, so I'm still waiting for him to speak a bit more and maybe even make it more dreamy, but at the moment it's also, I mean, quite fine. I mean, and of course he spoke more than we heard, but then I left only the part that also doesn't allow you to understand, is it a dream, reality, is it staged, it's disappearing, it's dissolving, the information is just getting lost, and the words, they connect in new ways, generate new meanings. And what's the most important in what he speaks is the spaces between his words, the empty gaps, like in the darkness that surrounds the images that you see in the light. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, I feel like with your work, because the same thing happened to me when I was watching the Year of the Sun, you just get lost in the images, in the just like that painterly quality of them. You just like, you enter that world where like you can only focus on that one thing and just experience that fully. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, I think that's it. Unless you want to still add something more. Okay.
You can ask. I'm always here.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the very first of our series. There'll be more. We'll be announcing it on our Instagram and on Facebook. So please make sure that you follow us so you don't miss anything. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And have a lovely
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, it was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure. Bye.
Okay. Bye.